Welcome to the Success with Jewelry podcast, where we invite you inside our conversations about business success and marketing for jewelry designers and entrepreneurs.
We're Laryssa and Liz, jewelry marketing experts with a combined 16 years of experience in jewelry marketing and proven track records in helping jewelry brands meet their goals. When you listen to or watch this podcast, you get an intimate and exclusive peek behind the curtain of all the things you wish you could know about earning success in this industry.
Welcome to episode 11. In this episode, we'll be talking about public relations. And we're going to be covering specifically what is public relations, how do you get started, and we're also going to share some tips for doing your own and the reality of hiring an agency. We also want to tell you about our insider community. When you join for only $20 a month, you'll have access to extended episodes full of tips that you can start implementing today and further resources about each topic we discuss. For example, with today's episode, insiders will receive an email template to outreach editors. To get access to this exclusive content, sign up by visiting successwithjewelry.com. Hey, Laryssa, let's get into it.
Let's talk about public relations, Liz. This is a hot topic. I know a lot of people ask us about it. It is mysterious and intriguing, and we're going to demystify some of it today.
Yeah, let's get into it. So, what public relations is, it's the practice of managing and sharing information about your brand. So, it's sharing who your brand is, what you're selling, of course, any new collections you have, your events, any collaborations you're doing. It's getting that information out to media outlets so that the public can read about it in places that aren't just coming from you.
And I think the managing part that you said is so important because you can really control that message. So you get to decide how your target customer is like consuming it and what their perception is of your brand, and it helps you shape it.
And so, in the landscape of marketing, how does PR fit in?
So, yeah, there's a common misconception that PR and marketing are kind of the same thing. And I could see why, because there are a lot of service providers that offer both and they have to overlap and work together. But really, I see it as like this tripod in your business. So you need all these three business processes to be successful and achieve growth. One of those is PR, one of those is marketing, and one of those is sales, which we talked about in a previous episode. And the three of these have to like harmoniously work together and support each other, or like the three-legged stool is going to fall over.
That totally makes sense because oftentimes, you have your marketing team and then you have someone specifically doing PR because it is a full-time thing. It's a really specific skill and practice. It's a consistent and constant outreaching to media outlets, editors, managing all of this that you're sharing. So it is a big job. And it's important for many reasons, but the biggest reason is because it expands your reach and your awareness. So, being in publications and media outlets and different places where a consumer is already reading it, already trusts it, is going to build the trust of your brand so much more. So, if the editor of Town and Country is recommending a piece of jewelry from your collection to their audience, somebody who already reads Town and Country and really enjoys that content is going to trust that recommendation and find your brand and feel more confident about purchasing from you. So that's one of the reasons that PR is really important. It one expands your reach and your awareness, but it also creates and builds relationships with the public.
Yes. And I think, Liz, you briefly touched upon this at the beginning, but I think consumers today are like super savvy and they are a little bit not mistrustful, but maybe like skeptical of messages that come directly from a brand because everyone is always talking at them saying, buy this product, buy this product. Social media is always telling you to buy this product. So if the message is coming from someone else, not you, the brand, it can further help build this trust that you're kind of trying to cultivate with the people you want to sell to.
And it's the same if a celebrity that you really admire, that you really follow, is wearing a specific brand. A lot of times you'll be more interested in learning about that brand and adding it to your wish list and thinking about adding that piece that they're wearing that they love to your collection. So it's, when you're in a place that people already trust, they're going to feel more confident following along with you and trusting your brand. Public relations is something that you can outsource. And when you do hire an agency, it is more expensive. And a lot of times when you're a newer brand and you're thinking about where to spend your budget, where to, get started with spending your budget, a lot of designers I talk to want to spend it on PR, but I don't necessarily recommend that because it's a long game for it to pay off. So getting, being in print. I've talked to designers who have dressed Beyonce, who have been regularly in like Vogue and Elle and these big consumer publications. But for it to actually lead to sales, it takes a long time, and sometimes it takes years. So it's not something I necessarily recommend putting a big budget in to start with. So you can do it yourself. You can get started yourself. You can start building relationships with editors yourself. And that's usually what I recommend to smaller and more emerging designers. But before you even do that, the two things that Laryssa and I always talk about that you need to know is one, your brand, and two, your audience. And you also need to have a marketing strategy in place. So if you just design some pieces and you want to start doing public relations, I would first do your marketing strategy.
Yes. And Liz, I'm so glad you said that PR is a long game. I think there is a little bit of a misconception about that because PR can, unlike marketing, give you like a quick result in the form of whatever article, celebrity placement. Sure. So there's like this tangible product almost that comes from it for you, and it's something you can see and feel good about. But the results, the actual like sales or the brand awareness or the brand trust, that is something that does take time. And marketing, which you just mentioned, is also something that takes time, but it's important to have that foundation in place because people who do find your brand through PR, if they come to your brand and there's no marketing foundation in place, there's no way for you to get them on your email list or have them follow you on social media, you won't be able to stay in touch with them, and they're pretty much going to like forget you immediately. Maybe that sounds harsh, but it's kind of true. There's so much noise. You need to keep re-engaging those customers, and marketing will help you do that.
And I think the reason why designers want to invest in press, because it is, a really clear way for more people to see you. But I have also dressed celebrities for the Oscars for actors, actresses who have won Oscars wearing designers I've worked with. And it never leads to like, people knocking down the door to purchase the product. It leads for a really exciting day with a lot of buzz and a lot of things to be talking about and sharing and being excited about. But and it definitely works to build this trust that you're working towards with your clients, but it's not something that will pay off overnight, especially when you're working in higher end fine jewelry. So you can do it yourself. I'm going to just share a few tips for how to get started. The first thing you want to do is create a prospect list. So the same way you would create a prospect list when you're pursuing retailers that you want to work with, you want to create a prospect list of publications you want to be in. And I'd encourage you to look at both industry and consumer because industry is a little bit easier to get. And another really important place to look is local. There's a lot of power in local media outlets. There's a lot you can do with that, especially if you have a studio people can visit, or even if you just make your jewelry in your small town or wherever you're making it. Consumers really do closely read local publications from what I've learned about living in Asheville, and people want to buy from people in Asheville. So, local press is really important, even though it's not as flashy as Vogue. So, that's something to really think about. When you're putting this prospect list together, you want to think about who your audience is, what publications you want to be in, make a list. And once you have that list together, then you want to start looking for editors and contact information. And the way I do this is looking at mastheads, which is a page in the magazine about a quarter of the way in that just has a list of the editor and all the different, the accessories editor, all the different people who have written in that specific publication. So that's one place you can look. And then if you're looking at digital articles, a lot of times the editor's name is right under the title, and usually it's linked to their email or their Instagram page, and it's usually easier to find them. And then something else, a really good tool to use is LinkedIn. So once you have the editor's name and you're looking for their contact information, leveraging LinkedIn for that's a really good tool. And then, of course, you can search on Instagram and find them and follow them there too. So that's how you kind of want to get started. You want to put this big prospect list together, and you want to keep track of when you're outreaching these editors, what you're telling them, and how frequently. So you have it all in one place and you know what you're doing.
Those are awesome tips. I love that. And it makes it so accessible to know that you can start without hiring an agency. You just have to be willing to do the
You have to
legwork.
do the legwork. You have to really focus on building relationships. So if you're ever doing a trade show, or if you're in the Women's Jewelry Association or an organization where you get to meet, jewelry editors or industry editors, that's a great place to kind of start building relationships. A lot of the relationships I've built have been at trade shows, and that's where they started, just having a great conversation with an editor at one of the networking events, or maybe they swung by the booth, and I'm still chatting with them 10 years later. So start building these relationships at any opportunity you can. But if you're not going to these types of events or things like that, start with an introduction email. Just really simple, straightforward, introduce your brand, share some key images, and then from there just reach out regularly. And even if you might not be getting responses, stay on top of it, keep doing it, because eventually they will respond, or something that you're sending them will align with a story that they're writing.
Yeah, it's definitely not personal if you get a non response or a no. Usually they have specific needs, specific things that they're looking for. So, right place, right time is pretty much going to be your friend in PR. And you have to be persistent in order to like hit that perfect moment where the editor or journalist is looking for what you have to
And
offer.
just making it as easy for them as possible with your white background images, your product information, the story about your brand, or what you're trying to pitch to them. Having everything together will go a long way for you too. So, is public relations part of your strategy? Are you going to create a prospect list and start outreaching editors? We'd love to know. Let us know. We want to hear about it. Again, you can visit successwithjewelry.com to sign up for the extended episodes as well as the exclusive content. Thank you so much for listening.